Could Nintendo and Xbox be joining forces to be the ultimate fatality combo for Sony? I think they might be. I mean, when you look at these statements from Doug Bowser that happened over the weekend in an interview that he did, and you combine that with the emails that were dropped from the Activision Blizzard acquisition where Phil Spencer had expressed interest to his team. Hey, I would love to acquire Nintendo. I think an alliance at the very least could be right around the corner. Now, what would an alliance look like? I would imagine it would look like Game Pass coming to Nintendo Switch. I would imagine it would look like Nintendo games coming to Game Pass. Why not? I think it would be absolutely huge. I think it could be earth-shattering. Now, I think an acquisition would be even bigger. However, I don't know that that's as likely. I think an alliance is much more likely, right? So let's recap here real quick what Doug Bowser had to say. And it actually surprised me because I thought after those emails dropped, if you're Nintendo and you're not for being acquired, right? You don't have a close relationship with Phil Spencer. You don't have a close relationship with Xbox. It could come off as insulting. Hey, Xbox thinks they can buy us. We're Nintendo. Who is Xbox? Who do they think they are, right? According to these statements, that bad blood does not seem to exist. That doesn't seem to be the case. In fact, it seems to be the exact opposite. So here's what Doug Bowser had to say. He says, quote, we have a great relationship. This, by the way, is a news article over at purexbox.com. We have a great relationship with Microsoft. We consider them to be partners in many, many ways. And you only have to look at Nintendo Switch to see that partnership. Obviously, Minecraft is on Nintendo Switch, and we brought Banjo-Kazooie to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so we're looking forward to that partnership continuing. As far as consolidation in the industry goes, he says, I've been part of this industry for 16 plus years now. One thing that's been constant is the acquisitions of studios. But the other constant is the fact that new studios are popping up every single year. Incredibly, creative studios are making content from indie-sized to AAA-sized games. So as consolidation happens on an equal basis, we're seeing these new studios, which really just speaks to the dynamic nature of the industry overall. In the end, that bodes well for the player. So he has no problem with the acquisition. In fact, the only one that seems to have had a problem and an issue with the acquisition is Sony. And they initially didn't. Then they ended up fighting it, and I think things got dirty. I think that there is no love loss between Xbox and Sony at this point. And I don't think there's any love loss between Nintendo and Sony. I think that's always been the case. I think they're arch rivals. I mean, the reason the PlayStation 1 exists is because Nintendo humiliated publicly Sony when Sony was working with Nintendo on bringing a CD-ROM gaming console to the market back in the Super Nintendo days. As a result, Sony said, okay, if you're going to humiliate us like that, we're going to go and make our own. And the PlayStation 1 was born and PlayStation was born. So Nintendo and Sony have always been arch nemesis. What if Xbox and Nintendo don't even acquire, let's say Xbox doesn't acquire them. Let's just say that they ally up. I think it would be absolutely huge. Now, the elephant in the room is Phil Spencer, obviously. He wanted to acquire Nintendo, and I think there's no doubt he sees the value in Nintendo. Obviously, he would see the value in bringing Nintendo games to Game Pass. Would be super compelling for Game Pass, period. But imagine if Game Pass was on Switch. Switch's success could make Game Pass super, super compelling. Now, if they acquire it, I mean, you instantly get a mobile library. You get tons of top-tier IPs, generational IPs right away. But I don't think we're talking acquisition here. I think we're talking alliance, right? So what's in it for Xbox? Well, you get a mobile Game Pass. You get a mobile system for Game Pass with built-in users. Why not? Nintendo does have a subscription service. That's okay. One of the cool things about it is their subscription service. You get access to Nintendo 64 games. You get access to Super Nintendo games and Nintendo games, which is really fun. But it's still not. It's not the best. It's not as good in my mind as Game Pass. I think Game Pass is still the best deal in gaming. So imagine if all of that was looped into a Game Pass subscription model with the Nintendo Switch, where you can get Xbox Game Pass on your Nintendo Switch and you can get Nintendo games on the Xbox Game Pass. I think that would be absolutely huge. I mean, imagine Mario Kart on Xbox Game Pass, or imagine Master Chief in the next Super Smash Brothers. Mind blown. there is the Sony factor here. Would Sony let this happen? If you're Sony, you got to be careful. If you're Sony, you got to be careful not to piss people off. Now, I don't think, once again, that there's any love loss between Xbox and Sony, despite, heads are going to say, well, yeah, we don't view them as competition. We're doing our own thing. That's what you have to say. But let's be honest. Things got pretty heated during the acquisition. During the Blizzard Activision acquisition. Excuse me. Nintendo and Sony have been frenemies for a while. But Sony dominates. Sony dominates in the Asian markets. Sony dominates in the European markets. This alliance could help both Nintendo and Xbox. I think it would definitely help Xbox get into those markets almost immediately. You would immediately have access into the Asian markets, and it would help you dominate over in the European markets as well. It's going to be very interesting. Regardless, it's clear that there's no love loss. I mean, the love loss, is that the right word? There's no animosity towards Xbox and Nintendo. In fact, I think it was just over a year ago, we saw some tweets and stuff where Nintendo was tweeting out some stuff, and it was like, oh, is Xbox partnering with Nintendo on something? What's coming? Nothing ever came out of that, but they're definitely close partners, and Doug Bowser just reiterated that here in this article over the weekend. Think about the industry impact. If they were to just ally, how would it affect indie developers? How would it affect multi-platform releases? How would it affect the gaming ecosystem at large? It would be earth-shattering. Just an alliance would be earth-shattering, much less an acquisition. Again, I keep saying acquisition because it would be fun. It would be, wow, could you imagine? You think people were mad at this acquisition? A Nintendo acquisition people would lose their minds for sure. I don't think that's as probable. I think some sort of close partnership and alliance is much more likely to happen. And I think that while it's not as earth-shattering, it's still earth-shattering. An alliance between Xbox and Nintendo to crowd Sony out of the marketplace would be absolutely huge. I don't know, though. I don't know if it's even going to happen. Regardless, it's just fun to bring up and talk about because of this article. Nintendo boss shower praise on the great relationship with Xbox and Microsoft. What do you think? What do you think an alliance could mean for the future of gaming? What do you think a Nintendo alliance with Xbox could mean for the future of gaming? Do you think an acquisition is likely? Would love to know in the comments below. If you like this video, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. We've got Xbox videos dropping every single day, Monday through Friday, right here. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.